Hi there, and welcome to the B-Roll podcast. I'm Justin.
And I'm William.
And on this episode, we're going to be talking about collectibles.
Yep, and all the good fun that comes with it.
We both have collected many things over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Like myself, you've probably collected things that are very unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things I thought I'd start talking about that I've collected are probably things like coins is something that I've collected.
Yep.
I've collected stamps, like probably most people at different times. But I've also collected things like little figurines, little toys, even games, collectible games I've got, where I've bought a limited edition game that will come in a special box set. Many different things that you can find that are collectible. But for me, I think what makes me want to collect something is partly the limited run of something, but also the fact that it's something that I may be interested in that always grabs me, and I think,
I understand.
Something rare I've got to have. So what about yourself? What's some of the things you've collected too?
Well, I'd say kind of much the same, but vinyl records and CDs and comics and books and other wonderful paraphernalia I can't think of right now.
Yeah, one things that it's hard to think of when you sort of on the spot thinking about what there is that you've collected, and there's lots of stuff. One of the examples I'll give recently that's come quite collectible was the Bluey coins, and we both noticed this, that they sold out very quickly.
About within half an hour basically.
And they are nice, and I can see that they're also appealing to younger people as well as older people who are probably buying them for the younger people. But they are highly collectible. Their value was not that high to buy, but they are very expensive now to buy, like
through the roof.
Through eBay and various other things. You're paying an awful lot for these particular coins now.
Something you may have paid like under $100 for it, and within hours they're on eBay for probably in the thousands.
So is that because they're obviously short run of these things, but is it also because maybe the scalpers have got hold of all of them and they're selling them off at that higher rate? Because they are extreme on that price on those ones.
I know. I think it's a bit of both.
It's a bit of both. And I've seen this before on many things, even down to something that wasn't necessarily collectible but was desirable to get, which was, say, like the new PlayStation was very hard to get at one stage and was very expensive and was sold at a ridiculous price on eBay. So collectibles can form into anything that's also desirable, I suppose, as well.
I know.
Because really it's only because it's desirable that you want it that it gets a value, doesn't it?
And the companies know what's really popular at the time. They cash in on it, basically.
They do, definitely. But let's focus a bit more on some other things that we've collected. So what about with you, some of your vinyl record or music stuff that you've collected? What drew you to that, and what sort of stuff was that you bought?
Well, originally just because I'm in the older bracket when they didn't have CDs around. They're just records that I bought because I wanted to listen to them and things like that.
But what drew you to the collector's version of that? Obviously there'd be a standard version, but then what do they actually give you for the more collectible, desirable version that you've bought?
Well, I guess things like, as an example, you get ones nowadays that are kind of like it'd be an album, but it'd be a box set, and it has Blu-ray surround sound version of the album on it, and DVD version, and also bits of video footage of the band or artist, and you get a book with it as well on the making of the album, and lots of photographs, and sometimes you get things thrown in as well, like maybe a scarf or something like that related to the album, or badges.
So it really is appealing to you because it's got this extra stuff than just the music. That's what's appealing as well, isn't it, when you come to collect something?
And also like extra tracks that they haven't put on the album and things like that.
Okay. Well, there's another thing that I've noticed that's coming out soon that obviously is going to be quite collectible, and I know myself and William will be both interested in this, and that's the remastered version of Blake 7, which is coming out on a collectible Blu-ray, and obviously they plan on having this as a fairly limited release as usual. And the desirability of that is that they've put more special features, they've enhanced the visual effects.
I know.
But they've also got a collectible book.
Yep.
It's just something that you feel you want to have for some reason. It's
I know.
weird with some stuff when it's collectible, because you can often get basic versions of something,
Yep.
like a coin or a book or whatever, but if they do a special version that's got the word limited edition,
I know.
you kind of automatically get a desire in
Yep.
your brain that you've got to have that version. And I think it affects everybody that when you see limited edition or very short run, it generates
I know.
interest in it.
It does.
Which is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that it's something that is desirable and of course you want to get, and they often put a little bit more work into those collectible versions of whatever you're collecting. But in a negative side, it also makes you spend a lot more money on
I know.
something. Necessarily, you might not necessarily get the value. It really is just added things. If you just bought the basic version of a Blu-ray versus a special edition, you're not really going to miss the main thing
No.
you wanted, which was the movie or
Yep.
TV show, is it really?
No,
That's the thing. I think it's intrinsically in us as humans that we like to collect stuff.
Yep.
And when we see that, we definitely gravitate to the more special versions
I
of
know.
these things. They tend to make us think, oh, we've got to have those.
Yep.
So what other things have you collected over the years, William, yourself? Like,
12-inch Daleks.
well, they're collectible, and I've,
Yeah.
I've bought those as well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Looking at them on eBay, they're sort of worth a bit more now.
Well, I'm looking, because I'm sitting next to you, and I'm looking around your room, and I can see a very
know.
looking collectible train set by the looks of it.
Yep.
And what gravitated you to that little model train that you've got there?
And, well, just someone, because it's a Flying Scotsman.
So there's a bit of an appeal for the name, but also because of
Yep.
what it's like. Some of the things that I've collected, which are probably a bit less that you wouldn't have collected because you're more into the music side of things and stuff like that, and Blu-rays and
Yep.
things. But for me, I've also collected limited edition games for PlayStation, Xbox or
Yep.
PC, and they can be quite collectible in the nature of they do a limited version of most games where you
Yep.
get postcards, a book on art showing you the art that they've done for the game, and a music soundtrack for the game.
Yep.
And they're often only in the limited edition box sets. In fact, one of the limited edition box sets that I got that was particularly good was for a game called No Man's Sky, which came out quite a while back, and originally was very much underrated in that it wasn't up to what people were expecting, and
Yep.
they bagged it a lot. But now it's got to a point where it's a very good game. But when I bought the original limited edition of it, I don't know if everyone was on board with it by then, because there was a lot of people that weren't happy
Yep.
and asking money, but I actually also got a model of the spaceship made out of die-cast metal,
Yep.
plus stickers and an art book and a soundtrack, which I think was really nice. And
Yep.
it's extremely rare now to find those things, and especially the actual spaceship. It's very hard to find that now.
Yep.
It's become very collectible if you can find it in mint condition in a box
Yep.
like I have. But it was just one of the items that I did buy related to games.
Yep.
Another quick one I'll say too is that Borderlands was another series that they did do some rather interesting merchandise of the little robot Claptrap,
Yep.
and I've got those, and they're quite collectible. But they also did a unicorn type creature called Butt Stallion, and I've actually got the Butt Stallion unicorn model, and that's quite rare and hard to get. And it's just unusual how certain things they'll produce are very desirable in that you
I know.
want them as a part of your collection, but they don't necessarily make the thing that you're a fan of better. They're just nice to have those things.
Kind of similar to another friend of ours that's got, it's also into music, and he's got like figurines in his house of Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy from Motorhead and all that kind of thing. And they're sort of like in figurines with a diorama type thing. It's not really related to the music.
And that brings me to someone I know who collected figurines of the actual presidents of America and had every president from the United States right from the beginning to now, and they've got the little figurines of them, and obviously they're very hard to get, and they're a limited run of them.
Yep.
But that's again something unusual that people would collect.
There's someone else that I just remembered who I knew that collected, basically is trying to collect everything from the company that made the Barbie dolls, and he's collecting every Barbie doll that he could get his hand on.
That would be hard because
I know.
one of the things we both know is that when you do collect something on a certain genre or something, there tends to be so much merchandise sometimes that it's almost impossible to really collect everything.
Yep.
Especially since we're both Doctor Who fans, and there's so much merchandise for Doctor Who, you could never really actually own all of it. I don't think anyone has actually owned all the merchandise from Doctor Who. It's just too much. Or if it was Star Trek or Star Wars, similar thing, where there's just so much merchandise and collectible stuff produced for those things that you could never really collect all of it. There are a lot of people that will collect a lot of it, and I think fundamentally what makes something collectible is probably limited availability, something that's connected to a genre that has fan following, and also something that may go up in value down the track. I think some of those are the key things that make stuff collectible. So you buy it and you know that you're going to get something down the track for it. Very hard to find, and it's also connected to something that you like. So I think they're the core things, don't you? When you,
I think so as well.
If you're looking for collectible things for money, to make money on, then generally go for things that are in the media and got a big following at the moment, I feel. Because a true collector, say like myself and William, will buy stuff for a show or a group or a band or music or video when they're not so popular. We just buy it because we like that type of thing. But if you're after something to make money, you're best to do it when it's got a high popularity in the social media and on television, and there's a lot of talking about it, because then that's the time, if you do want to try and make some money from what you've collected, that's the right time to sell, I feel. Not when it's less popular. Though it still has a sentimental value to you, it doesn't necessarily keep the value that it was worth when you bought it even. Sometimes you can buy stuff, can't you, William?
I know. And
you paid a lot for something, but later on it's not really got any value. It's only really got value to you. There's no one wanting to collect it anymore. Up and down, isn't it?
And also, don't if someone does buy something and they're going to try and sell it somewhere like eBay or something like that, don't go by how much other people are selling it for. Check out how much people have actually sold it for.
That's a good bit of advice, because it's very easy to get into a trap where you're desperate for something and you just pay whatever someone's put on that item, and you don't necessarily or shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to find that item sometimes a bit cheaper than what people are putting at. So that's just an advice on if you are a collector and you're not necessarily wanting to make money out of stuff so much, but you want to get that, then just wait a bit too, is another bit of advice I would give people. If like, for instance, with the Bluey coins, now at the moment there's a high interest and the value's very high, but will it stay that high in 3 or 4 years, or will it start to drop off a bit? And maybe that's the time, if you are a Bluey collector, say, hypothetically, that would be the time to go and buy those sort of coins or merchandise, because they'll be a lot cheaper, because there'll be less interest.
And if, like, for instance, with the Bluey coins, as an example, if you're being in Australia, the value then, if you're thinking of buying them, won't be as much as if you're buying it from overseas, sort of thing, because they're manufactured over this side of the world, basically.
Look for where you're purchasing these things from as well, as another thing, isn't it?
Because using, as an example, the TARDIS with the coin inside it, on eBay, people in Australia would be selling it for one particular price, whereas overseas are selling it for twice as much as they are in Australia, and that's because it was manufactured in Australia.
Yes, so that brings another question in with collectibles, that if there is something collectible and it's only released in a certain part of the world and you're in another part of the world, it can also heighten the value of it. It makes it harder for you to get, so you're going to have to pay more for that item than not necessarily the value it really is worth, is it? That's another pitfall just to be aware of that.
And then checking out the postage as well.
Yeah, that's definitely something. This has just been a basic talk about collectibles. I mean, there's so many things to talk about collectibles and go on forever, but just wanted to put this out there about collectibles. Perhaps some people could leave a comment in the comment section about things they've collected and their experience on collecting stuff. Would you think that's probably a good idea?
If it is.
They can, and we can have a look at them, and maybe we might talk about that down the track in another podcast about some of other people's experiences with collectibles, because I feel it's a subject that can definitely have maybe another podcast on later on. Anyway, I'm Justin.
And I'm William.
And thanks for watching and listening.
And I'll see you all again next time.
And it's night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.